Hello y'all, I am Tim Howe, Motioneer First Class, and today we are going to be making like a fractal, almost like a kaleidoscope type effects, just using simple precomps and simple, well, it'll get complex later, but simple keyframing, okay? If you'd like to support me, please consider downloading one of my fonts in the description. Free one or the not so free one, okay? And yeah, let's dive right in. All right, y'all, let's make a new composition. And defaults are great. I've got mine set to 6 seconds, and I'm not totally convinced on the white background, so let's start with black maybe. And yeah, let's just make a shape that animates first. So I'm gonna reach up top for my shape tools. And I want something a little fancier, maybe a star tool. And let's come into our settings here. I'm going to turn on my title and action safe grid so I can see the center. That way I can draw my shape right in the dead center. So I'm going to hold shift. I'm liking that green okay. But as I'm drawing, I'm also going to hit up and down the keyboard and just maybe get a little subtly more interesting star. I like that one quite a bit. And yeah, if you'll see my settings at the top, if they're different from yours, you might want to click here and kill your fill like I'm doing. And then I'm just kind of increasing or decreasing my size here. Yeah. Okay, so we're probably going to come back and forth on this. So I'm kind of going to start small and just start animating some stuff. I don't know what it's going to look like, and so I don't need to put too much pressure on myself to make it look beautiful. I'm going to hit P on the keyboard and here with my playhead at the beginning, I'm going to hit the position keyframe. And I don't know, I'm just gonna mess around, right? So maybe I'll move it this way, and then maybe I'll move it this way, and maybe I'll move it down over here, and then maybe I'll bring it back home. So I'll copy and paste my first keyframe. Okay, now to make this more dynamic and less screensaver, let's go ahead and grab my pen tool here at the top screen. I think it's G on the keyboard if you can't find it. And I'm just going to click and drag on some of these and maybe even turn some of them inside out so that they can kind of flip around and just be a little bit more dynamic of a movement, okay? This is physical movement in nature, right? Nothing necessarily in physics moves in a straight line, at least nothing that's not robotic. So if we want to add a little more awesomeness to our stuff, consider adding those curves. It just makes it feel more dynamic. Another thing I can do here is right click and under the transform settings, where are you? There's an auto orient option, and that auto orient allows me to orient along the path. And so as this thing is rotating or moving, it's going to do some kind of fun flips and rotations. I don't know if I like that or not, but I'm going to try it for now. And if I don't love it, maybe I can increase the distance that this travels so that it's not quite so much of a rotation hog. Another thing I can do if you're working on this is, and I did a decent job here, but you see these the dots here, these little tick, 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 ticks everywhere. That's how many frames, that each one of those is a moment in time, right? And so I can see that there's actually an increase of speed here as I exit, and this kind of goes at a normal pace. And so really, down here my timeline, I could probably just reposition these. That's the wrong one. Looks like it's the first ones that are too much. So you see how, as I drag this, those lines, those ticks are becoming more equidistant. It's going to just make my pacing a little bit more similar. If you don't want similar pacing, then don't do that. Okay, so I don't know, again, I have no idea what I want. So I'm going to come out here now and just precompose this. So I'm going to right click on the layer, find the precompose option, and this will be my shape animation, right? Okay, awesome. So now all my keyframes are now inside of there and hidden away. And so now what I want to do is kind of copy this around and just see what happens. So I'm going to duplicate this. Let's do 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's 5 total. And then I just need to remember my math. I didn't know I needed to do math. This is hard. All right, so 360 degrees divided by 5. I need 70, each of these to be rotated 72 degrees. So I'm going to find my rotation here, just hitting R on the keyboard. And the first one will be 0. The second one, I'm going to hit tab twice. It'll be 72. Be sure not to turn it 72 times. That's the first number. We, in fact, just want it 72 degrees. So here, 72 plus 72 is 144. 144 plus 72 is 216. And I believe 216, actually, I have no idea. Plus 72 gets me to 288. All right, then that should get me back home. Okay, so now if I play that, you'll see I have all these copies, and they're working pretty good, except when it leaves the screen. So you see how right here, I'm actually leaving the edge. Well, good news for us, this continuously rasterize button actually will allow that to be ignored, right? And so with that continuously rasterize, let's see this one on, you'll see it kind of ignores the borders, which is super good for us, right? So yeah, there's basically the beginnings of kind of something really interesting. So I'm gonna kind of mess around here and kind of see what I can come up with, and you maybe do the same. We'll see where we end up. Okay, this is where I ended up. It is a little weird, but it's kind of fun too. So I did have to do a few shenanigans, but let's kind of start the basics. So with my green shape that I started with, I ended up adding some animation to the inner and outer roundness and the stroke width. That allows me to kind of turn this thing inside out and flip it around and make the more floral looking stuff. And then as I was going, I wanted to stack up other shapes on top. So I started drawing other shapes inside of this shape, and that was working pretty good, except that they weren't stacking properly, meaning they were, the pinks weren't together and the yellows weren't together and the greens weren't together. I didn't like that. I wanted them to kind of blend together like they are here on screen. The greens are all together, the pinks are all together. And so I had to make copies of each of my precomps after I drew those shapes. And so they have the same movement on them, but they all are animated slightly differently as far as what happens to them, right? This one gets thick and thin. I have a green shape, or my pink shape as well, gets really, really long and spindly, and then it inverts itself over time, okay? And so with all those copied, I was able to animate them individually, and then basically I'm just stacking them. And you can kind of see I've color-coded those, so my yellows are here, my pinks are here, my greens are here. Okay, and then one last thing that I wanted to do at the end was here. So as you can see, it feels good, it feels okay, but there was something kind of missing for me in the middle of this thing. It felt kind of hollow, and so I went and made one last copy of each, and that's these ones where it's not moving anymore, but it's doing the same thing that every other one is doing without the position frames. I just basically turned the stopwatch off on the position frames for all my shapes, and that allowed me to add a copy dead center, and it just feels like it anchors it just a bit more. There's something that kind of feels more kaleidoscopic about it to me to have that one in the dead center. Okay, y'all, one last thing maybe that we'll try. Let's go up here to the top, find my layer settings, and let's make a little bit of a glow on this, just because it's on black background and I can't help myself. All right, layer, new, adjustment layer. And you want to make sure that's placed all the way at the top. It's taking its sweet time. There it goes. So it popped in there at the top. I'm going to come over to my effects and presets again. And you might need to find it. And I'm just going to grab a glow and just drag it on top of everything. And maybe I'll increase the intensity of this glow. Let's see what threshold does. Threshold's kind of interesting because to kind of make it sparkly as well. So yeah, there's a little glam added there at the end. It might be fun to kind of go further and add some more light effects, but for now, that is sparkly fantastic. Okay, I hope you learned something. Hey, I hope that helped with something. If you learned anything, please consider liking and subscribing. We'll check you next time.